when the housing market is functioning, we typically operate in 8-year cycles, right? You live in your first home for the average of 8 years, then you move up. So what I think is going to happen is what's called the turnover rate in housing is going to crash because people aren't going to stay 8 years. They're going to stay 12 years.
Yeah.
Right. And we've got years till we get there. So it is going to be interesting to watch. And that's why I think 25 is going to be bad, but 26 will be a little better. And then 27, a little better. And then 28, a little better, because you'll get those people coming off the sidelines little by little by little. All righty, folks, it is the end of the year, and I think it is time for us to look back at 2024, the real estate market, because I think there was plenty of opinions, plenty of mistakes, plenty of errors, but certainly lots of lessons we could learn about 2024. And we're going to have this conversation with a top 1% agent, Beth Traverso. Beth, how you doing?
Thank you. Doing great. Glad to be here. It's that time of year, looking back, reflecting, looking forward. I tend to focus on looking forward, but we have to take stock of what happened to move forward in a more meaningful way. And so I was thinking about, what did I learn about real estate this last year? There's the market, and then there's also my real estate business and the real estate investing and all of it. So one of the main takeaways I had for 2024 was to run my business and my real estate investing business and sales business for now, not for what might be coming later. And that ties into people that were talking a year ago about like, oh, well, rates are going to go down next year, and, marry the house and date the rate. Those kind of worst advice, very catchy slogan, but how's that working out for folks, who are still there's still that date with the rate is getting to be a little more of a long-term relationship, and people need to plan accordingly. So don't make your actions now should not be based upon what you think might be coming later. Don't do that. I think that's a mistake. And I learned that, it was emphasized this year when we saw that we're kind of talking the same things this year that we were talking about last year. So
yeah, I love that. Again, I've always preached and thankfully never got behind the, marry the house, date the rate nonsense, because I know what it's like to have an alligator in something that eats you alive every month. And I've done it. I'll never do it again, and would not recommend anybody do it. So I never got behind that. I guess the first thing I want to give a shout out to 2024, and certainly will be true in the first half of 2025, is welcome to a buyer's market, right? Buyer's markets don't come around very often. They don't generally last very long, but they provide tremendous opportunity to the few of you that are willing to do the work, willing to write disrespectful offers, willing to follow up 17 times. There will be amazing deals made, and I've already seen it. I've already seen it in 2024, and I have a sneaky suspicion we're going to see a lot more One Rental at a Time fans get disrespectful offers accepted, because, as I've said, we will likely have 7% mortgage rates for the year, and that means no demand, low transactions, but potentially amazing deals if you do the work. So welcome, folks. Yes. Buyer's market. How do you like me?
Yeah. Love it. And make it work for you. Folks, if you're waiting for better, there's a lot of people that are waiting, and sometimes it's hard to acknowledge that maybe the better time is now. Maybe it isn't for you. I'm not saying what anybody should do or not, but as far as the market overall, it's as buyer friendly as it's probably been in a while, and probably going to be. So,
yeah.
And it definitely is shifted a lot more. It has shifted a lot more toward buyers when the rates went up. Their inventory went down as well. But there are opportunities out there. We see it from the folks that are telling their stories, on this channel and in school, et cetera. Like, people are finding ways and making deals, and it is a more advantageous time for buyers than it has been. And I see it out there. Those of us that are doing the work, looking every day.
Yep.
Learn what to look for, and we will be seeing more opportunities for that. I don't think So in my market, I think we probably will have a little bit of our bump, our busy quarter. The first quarter is getting ready to start, and we may see a bit of bump in that. But there's always going to be the oddballs, if you will. The ones that last a little longer on the market, the ones that don't quite appeal to the masses for some reason, and that's where investors can come in and create value and add some good properties to their portfolio, get some more cash flow. So one of the things that I noticed, one of the things that I learned about real estate this last year in 2024 is that agents need to show their value. So in the real estate agent world, there was this huge thing with these lawsuits that were out there that got settled and changed the way we do business. I think it was a good thing, and I welcome it. But basically, the days of just showing up and not explaining what you do and getting a big paycheck are gone.
Yeah.
And it's made it a lot. It's emphasized that agents need to explain how they get paid and how much they get paid and why they should be paid that. And if they're not bringing the value and they can't explain that to potential clients, then they're not going to be hired. In a nutshell, a buyer's agent is required to have a signed agency agreement with their buyer before they show houses, before they write offers. It didn't used to be that way. It used to be somebody would just push a button on the internet that they want to go see a house. Some buyer agent shows up. If they buy that house, that agent gets paid, or it just goes from there. And there never was a signed agreement. It never was negotiated as part of the purchase and sale. Now it's up front, it's visible, and it's discussed. It's something that's negotiated between the parties, just like price, inspection, etc. But if you can't explain that and you don't provide any value, then that agent's probably going to not be in business going forward. And I think that's probably as it should be. If you don't bring value, then you shouldn't be doing the job.
Yeah. The next thing I'll say about the real estate market, and I'll throw in the mortgage market here, is really on the value thing. We have already seen a lot of people leave the market, right? Leave the job. We are going to see more. Right. I'm on record, and this, saying that 2025 is going to be rougher than 2024. It's going to be the last hard year. And let's be clear, it's been 3 years already. So a fourth year's not a welcome thing, I am sure. And we're going to see that final wipeout. There's going to be less agents, less mortgage brokers. And then 2026 is going to come. And the people that are around are going to gorge like nobody's business. When the market finally turns. And it's not going to go back to where we were in 21 or 22. But if you've been starving for a while, and we do, I don't know, let's say 3.8 million existing home sales, and then we pop to 4.2, right? We go up 20%, but there's half as many or 40% as many agents. It's going to be a party time. But I do have a very, it's not a great message that 2025 is going to suck. And again, I go back and look at 1978 to 82 as reference. It's in the spreadsheet. You can go look for yourself. And I think it anchors around 7% mortgage rates, at least for the first half and potentially for the year. 2025 is not going to be a fun year, probably for anybody. Yeah. But it gets better from there, is my thing. So that's the next thing. What, you got one more lesson learned?
Yeah, I say don't pin your success on something that is out of your control. So we see that a lot out there in our real estate investing world, or any world really, but like where people are like, I would be a successful real estate investor if only.
If only.
Fill in the blank. What is it now? It changes all the time. But it's like, if rates were lower. But when rates were low, it was something else. It was like, institutional buyers, they're buying everything. The greedy landlords are making it so we can't buy, or I don't know.
It's always somebody else's fault.
Trump won, or somebody else, Biden, or somebody did something that makes it so they can't, the rich people are ruining it for the rest of us, or whatever the excuse is. And they're using that as a reason why they can't be successful. And you don't want to pin your success in anything on something that you can't control. All you can do is control yourself. And if that's the way the system is rigged, then so to speak, then figure out how to work that game. So there's a way to do it. And if you think about it in terms of possibility, then it becomes possible. If you don't think it's possible, I mean, it's so simple, but it's like, if you think that there's no way you can be successful at something, well, then what are your chances of ever having any success? No matter what happens, even if the rates come down, or so-and-so gets elected, or something happens with your job, or, whatever, it's so simple, but so many people just get stuck there. And it really becomes a moment of looking inward with some soul searching of like, well, what can I do? And this applies to all areas of your life, but we're just talking about real estate investing in our market and stuff. But like, the market might suck this coming year for real estate agents, like you were just saying, and that is true. What can I control about that? And so I know for myself as a real estate business person, I'm looking at, well, how can I create value in my marketplace and communicate that to people, where if people are out there and they go, man, rates are high, I need to move, what am I going to do? I heard the market's not good. How can I sell my house, or how can I buy a house? And so I'm focusing on how I can put that out there where I can provide value to folks, and they can come to me because they know I'm the one that can get it done. That's my goal. And also just be a giver to provide the information to people, whatever they decide to do. So one of my values is I like to provide honest guidance to people, whatever they decide to do, whether it benefits me or not. And sometimes the advice I give people does not benefit me, but that's not what I do. But if I just focus on what I can do for myself and then as a business person, because if it's going to suck next year, well then, all we got to think about is how we can make it a better year for us and those around us. And so, you talked about it this morning in the daily financial news, how like there's a flip side to it also. And you got to look at that. Like there's people that are going to struggle, and then there's people that are going to find what is positive and can carry that forward into the next year. And just try to focus on being one of those people, because you have to step out of being a victim to ever find success. And not saying struggles aren't real, because they are. Trust me, we all know that. But you have to find a way to rise above. So, and you can't pin your success on what other people are doing, because that's never going to work.
Yeah. The last thing I'll talk about learned in 2024 is really just validation of a couple of things that I got right. First, I've said for a while now that the housing market is broken. We have seen consistently for the last year or two that transactions at the lower end, AKA first-time home buyer, are significantly down. That part of the market traditionally is 40%, upwards of 42%. Today, it's averaging between 20 and 24%. That market is broken. The Fed broke housing. On the other side of that, we are actually seeing more homes sold for 7 figures than we've ever seen before, right? So we have a bifurcated consumer, bifurcated buyers. But we're also seeing some, 6-figure discounts on $1 million properties, because again, if you're in a buyer's market and you're lucky enough to be shopping for a luxury property, you're typically not going to write list price, right? You're going to go get a big discount. So, we're seeing the broken housing market play out. And then part B of this kind of wrap up is interest rates matter. I think we have statistical evidence now that anything close to 6% brings back a wave of demand. Look at what happened to existing home sales and new home sales when rates were 6.11. Watch what happened when they went over 7, and they're over 7 again today. It's just a totally different market. 6 good, 7 bad. Wow. It is really breaking it down to that simple.
And we know that now because we saw that this year, and it was really interesting to watch. And, we've seen it swing from the high of, I guess it was late 2022, but we saw it as high as 8 and then down to 6 and then bouncing around. And you're right. When it was closer to 6, people were just swarming it in off the sidelines, and then went back up again. Everyone's like, whoa. Now I'm starting to see more people. It'll be interesting to see how many people decide like, well, all right, at some point life goes on. And so those
that'll be the tell.
That are waiting, that got the bunk beds or whatever, and they're like, this is driving me crazy. I don't know when the rates are ever going to go back down. I can't live here anymore. You know, will we start to see some of that? I think some, but there's going to be a lot of people that just can't financially make that work, and they're just going to have to just stick it out.
Yeah, I think we absolutely are going to eventually see it. It's just not next year, at least not in big numbers, because again, we have like when the housing market is functioning, we typically operate in 8-year cycles, right? You live in your first home for the average of 8 years, then you move up. So what I think is going to happen is what's called the turnover rate in housing is going to crash, because people aren't going to stay 8 years. They're going to stay 12 years.
Yeah.
Right. And we've got years till we get there. So it is going to be interesting to watch. And that's why I think 25 is going to be bad, but 26 will be a little better. And then 27, a little better. And then 28, a little better, because you'll get those people coming off the sidelines little by little by little. So interesting.
Yeah. And I'm waiting to see, I'm rooting for my first time home buyers, and I want them back to get out there and that's just so critical and so hard.
They're the missing piece. Absolutely the missing piece.
I just really hope that, that we can kind of gently ease toward more opportunity for the first time home buyer out there. I root for them more than anyone. And they've been largely absent for the last couple of years, and it makes me sad. So I really would like to see them back in the game. So it might be another year, but again, I don't want to discourage people. I think if you're motivated and there's a way, like there is a way, but for the
let's be clear. Let's be clear. I've been telling people for a long time the buyer's market is going to be great for one rental at a time, great for investors, but you can be a first time home buyer and have the same attitude. Absolutely, you can write lots of offers.
You just have to be open-minded, and
exactly.
We've done videos, and maybe that's the next video for next time. But there's ways you can make it work as an investor or a first-time home buyer. You're often going after the same houses, by the way.
Very true. Very true.
So if the investors are feeling more of them are on the sidelines, then it's your time to shine, first-time home buyer. And that's often people's first investment property too. I know it was for me. My first home became my first rental. And if you're house hacking, it happens immediately. But when we bought our next house, we kept that house as a rental. So,
It's amazing. Beth, well, you are a top 1% agent selling all this stuff in King County, but you also help people across the country. How do they follow you?
Yeah, people can find me. They can find me on Instagram and Facebook and message me there, or at bethtraversogroup.com. There's a contact me where people can reach out to me. And I get those personally, these messages, and love connecting with folks out there. And I'm also in the school community too. So you can find me on there.
Beth, you're amazing. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. You too. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.